I was like in third grade. My mother is accused of horse thievery. It's a hanging offense. And my father at that time was the Attorney General of the United States. You know, when you're the Attorney General, you're supposed to enforce the laws. It doesn't help that your mother, does your wife, is being a horse thief. She heard some horses and going, wow, nay, very, very so. And she looked at the horses, and they were very thin and obviously malnourished. So she thought, well, that's wrong. So she had all of us and the groom, we had a groom, take the horses, there were about 4 of them, over to our house where we had a barn. And then the guy who owned the horses was angry that somebody took his horses away. I don't know if that happens in East Texas, but it happened in McLean, Virginia. And so he sued her in Virginia. And at that time, horse theft was a hanging offense. I was very excited about coming here to SFA. And we didn't look very closely at our luggage, and the next day I woke up and I looked at my luggage and realized somebody had taken my bag. Who could that be? Turns out it was Lyle Lovett. So he called me up and said, you have my bag? I said, I know, and I have yours. He said, where are you? Nacogdoches. Nacogdoches! I love Nacogdoches. It is the great city. It is an historic city. What are you doing there? I said, I'm at SFA. Oh, that is a fabulous university. So you have Lyle Lovett loving you. And then I called Janice and I said, we have to UPS Lyle Lovett's baggage to him. And Janice said, oh, we have great police here at SFA. They will go and see him. And one of them was named Kennedy. I'm happy to claim her as my cousin, if she'll have me. Anyway, they drove to his home. And can we read what he said? They had...
It's not on there.
You can't have it. Anyway, he texted me this very funny story about they shared a banana cream pie at the local Munchies or something. And he had his own sheriff from his county meet the police from SFA. So it would be official that the bags would be exchanged. And thanks to that, I now have my brush and can brush my hair. I also love that your color is purple because I'm from Baltimore and the Ravens won this week. So I was thrilled to be surrounded by purple all week. So thank you very much. Let me tell you about people. People don't look at facts. Have you studied all that? They have their ideas, and if you give them a fact that they don't like, they become more convinced that they're right. The American dream was not about getting wealthy. That is a recent phenomenon of the last 30 years. American dream was living a good life, being able to participate in politics. You know, remember it says we have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? You remember those words? Do you know what they meant by pursuit of happiness? No, that was liberty. Remember? Life, liberty and freedom, same thing. What do they mean by pursuit of happiness? I'll tell you. What?
Follow your dreams. Do what you want to do.
Participate in politics. Just think about this. What would happen if you die and you go up to heaven and you go through those pearly gates, and suppose when you get there, suppose God is black? When my father, Robert Kennedy, went to South Africa in 1966, he was told, he said, you know, it's wrong that blacks in South Africa are told where to live, taken away from their families, told where to work, have no freedom at all. And he was told, as were people during the South or before the Civil War, well, God allows slavery, and you read about slavery in the Bible, so this is perfectly in line with our religion. And my father thought, how could he touch that argument? And he said, if you look at American history, religion often starts off as being narrow and unprogressive, and then it grows, because God is large. God created us. The best education requires you to do something. It's not just lecturing. Like, I know that you're all looking at me today, so you're interested, but I'm telling you, we would have a more fun time and we'd learn more if we did something together, rather than just me telling you things. There's just so much information the human head can absorb. I think one of the biggest issues that we're going to face going forward is how we're going to make men feel that they have a role. Because I think it's better that everybody feels important, not just one gender. How's that for an answer that you didn't expect? If you read the Bible, there are like no functional families at all. None. They're all screwed up. I mean, they are. They fight. Cain and Abel, they fight with each other, right? It's just interesting to think of, and what I would say, and you know this is not a faith class, but that what Jesus said is leave your family. Find a group of friends, find a community. Because families are really unreliable. And so it's interesting where this notion comes from, that families are helpful or useful. My reading of history is not that families are helpful. There are exceptions. So I just think it's interesting where this notion comes from, that families are important, because I think we could think differently about how to support us and support children, not necessarily through families. Actually, I think that we put too much pressure on families and too much responsibility on families, and they don't have the ability to do it. Remember when Jesus was 12 years old and he goes with his parents, I think, to Jerusalem? And, you know, his mother loses him for 3 days? I mean, does anybody point out that, you know, if that happened today, wouldn't she be picked up for Child Protective Services? So when you think that you're going to fix something that has been broken for 4,000 years, maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe, thank you for smiling. I'm glad you're smiling. Maybe it's better to think of so what is your goal? Trying to make sure that children grow up loved, cared for, with attention. That's what we want, right? We want our children to do well, and we want us, women, to also feel supported in our lives. The answer seems to be that you've come up with, and you're a great teacher, is the family. But what I'm suggesting is maybe there's a different answer. And really one of the things that you got to fight for is equity. And there's really a lot of injustice. And part of it is individual and part of it is cultural. And both, I mean, you need both. And that's what your challenge is how do you get people to be, despite everything that's going wrong around them, say, I can overcome it. And you do that on an individual basis, but you don't let the government say, it's all your fault, which is what some politicians would do.